So I've had the opportunity to make similar and forgettable remarks at a number of events over the past year and a half since assuming this position. I've done groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings and rubber chicken dinners and annual conferences, and they've all been pleasant, and the ones that have been associated with new housing have truly been worthy of celebration. But I'd submit to you that none of them, when we look back on our housing history in New Hampshire, will be as significant as this day. None will demarcate our housing history in terms of a before and an after. And why is that? Why do I think that today is so important? It's because I think we're at a turning point today. We've come a really long way. Not so long ago, it used to be perfectly acceptable to say in polite company, we don't have a housing problem in New Hampshire. We don't have an affordability problem. When I drive around, I see housing, I see people in it. We don't want any more school children that are going to drive up our taxes. If we need more housing, let the cities build it. And of course, everybody's favorite, whether spoken or unspoken, we don't need any more of those people in our town. Now, those of us who are engaged in the work of meeting the housing needs of our state still hear things like this, but it's getting rarer and it's getting less socially acceptable. And more, people realize now that the statements like these, to make a statement like these, is to turn a blind eye to the terrible mistakes that we've made in the misbegotten history of land use policies in the past century. That in and of itself is an amazing accomplishment. And we rightly celebrate the work of those who have turned on the light so we can see for ourselves the injustice around us in the form of tyrannical and discriminatory land use policy. Policies which promised us safe and idyllic suburbs, but are suffocating economic growth and are driving up housing prices to the point where we have a homelessness crisis among our senior citizens and working people. Policies which we believed would protect our environment and rural character, but have done just the opposite, contributing to sprawl and environmental degradation. People are starting to realize this. They are becoming aware. But awareness only gets us part of the way there. The next step is understanding the details of these exclusionary policies. So often, when I travel around the state, when I talk to people about housing, the question that I get is, what should towns and cities be doing? What should concerned citizens be doing? What should I be doing? And until now, so often, I've given them a convoluted and unsatisfactory answer. Something like, get to know your town's zoning ordinance. Here's a town that's made some good changes. Google that one. Open up those two 180-page PDFs, maybe do a Control F for table of dimensional requirements, put them side by side, ask for some help from your overworked planner, if there is one, try to make yours a little bit more like this good one, and then try to get all your neighbors jazzed up about it. Until now, at best, sometimes we've been able to say, we can help you pay for a professional to do this incredibly complex work that you still won't understand. And is it any wonder that we find ourselves in this mind-blowing situation where, according to the most recent UNH Granite poll that measures issues which are important to New Hampshire residents, housing is the most important. It's not even close. It blows away the second most important issue to Granite staters by a margin of something like 3-1. And yet, so many towns and cities across New Hampshire have done very little to address the housing crisis. Well, I say to you, don't wonder why that is. Don't wonder what is the disconnect. The disconnect is the system of land use regulations is incredibly complicated. It is not accessible. It is not understandable. So many caring, intelligent, dedicated people, including those who already serve on planning and zoning boards, people who I call my friends, have done very little to address this crisis because it's so freaking complicated. But today's launch of the New Hampshire Zoning Atlas marks a new dawn in the availability and the accessibility of information about land use policies across our state. And I feel lucky. I think we're all fortunate to be here today because we're at a point in our history where a great mistake has been made. And it took us a long time to get here, but now we see it. And now our friends and neighbors and family members who are not housing geeks are starting to see it. The Zoning Atlas will allow all of us to see it and to understand it. And once we can understand it, we can solve it. It's not going to be easy, but it's not going to be any harder than what we've had to do to get to this point. So thank you. This is a tool. Let's see what it can do, and then let's get out there and use it.